Waylon Jennings wasn't just a country singer. He was a man who lived life on his own terms, loyal to those he loved, brutally honest with those he didn't, and never willing to pretend to be anything he wasn't. Waylon paid a high price for his freedom. Yet that same uncompromising nature fueled his music, his legend, and even a legacy of generosity that helped provide over $63 million in humanitarian aid across an entire continent. From surviving the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper, to battling personal demons and failed marriages, Waylon knew heartbreak, hard luck, and tough choices better than most. In this video, we dive into the untold story of Waylon Jennings's tragic, rambling life and reveal why, in his final days, he got brutally honest, but for a reason that may surprise you. Waylon Jennings could have died in an infamous plane crash. Waylon Jennings was just beginning his musical journey in 1959 when he landed recording sessions produced by rock and roll superstar Buddy Holly, whose hits like That'll Be the Day, Peggy Sue, and Maybe Baby were already defining the genre. Holly, recognizing Jennings's talent, offered him a spot playing bass on the Winter Dance Party Tour, a high-profile package tour that also featured J.P. Richardson, known as the Big Bopper and famous for Chantilly Lace, and Ritchie Valens, who had turned the folk song La Bamba into a rock hit. The tour was grueling, with buses constantly breaking down in the bitter winter cold. After a stop in Clear Lake, Iowa, on February 2nd, Holly decided to charter a small plane to reach their next gig in Fargo, North Dakota, rather than risk another unreliable bus ride. At the time, both Richardson and Valens were sick with the flu. Richardson, who had been scheduled to travel by bus, asked Jennings if he could take his spot on the plane. In a gesture of kindness, Jennings agreed, letting Richardson board in his place. Holly, joking to Jennings about the plan, said he hoped their bus broke down, to which Jennings grimly quipped, "I hope your old plane crashes." Tragically, Jennings' offhand remark became a haunting reality. The small aircraft crashed just after takeoff, killing Richardson, Holly, Valens, and pilot Roger Peterson instantly. Jennings, who had given up his seat, survived by sheer chance. The near-death experience left an indelible mark on Jennings, a trauma that would follow him throughout his life and career, shaping the man who would later become one of country music's most iconic outlaw figures. He was married 4 times. Waylon Jennings's love life was as tumultuous and colorful as his legendary career, but it was his long marriage to Jessie Coulter that defined both his personal happiness and his legacy. The couple tied the knot in 1969, and together they had their most famous child, Waylon Albright Jennings, better known today as indie country star shooter Jennings. Coulter, an accomplished singer in her own right, became not just his wife, but a stabilizing force who helped him reclaim his life and career. Before finding lasting love with Coulter, Jennings's romantic life had been far from smooth. He was married and divorced 3 times before meeting her. His first marriage was to Maxine Lawrence when he was just 17 years old, and together they had 4 children over 6 years. After their separation, Jennings married Lynn Jones in 1962. The couple adopted a daughter, but eventually divorced after 5 years. He then had a brief marriage to Barbara Rhode before his life and heart intersected with Coulter's. When he met Jessie, Jennings later admitted to Rolling Stone, he was at a particularly low point in his life. "I weighed 138 pounds, and I was bent on self-destruction. Wallering in self-pity was the biggest part of it, staying depressed all the time and stoned. Jess was the best thing that ever happened to me," he confessed. Coulter's presence and support helped him not only recover from his self-destructive tendencies, but also gave his music a renewed focus and direction. He even helped relaunch her recording career, guiding her from the unsuccessful singles of the 60s into a new chapter of professional success. Still, the marriage was not without its challenges. Jennings's cocaine addiction created tension and hardship, and the couple separated briefly at one point. However, they weathered their personal storms together. As Jennings once reflected, paraphrasing the sentiment of one of their duets, "Storms never last." And the two remained married until his death, proving that their bond, though tested, endured a lifetime. Waylon Jennings contracted hepatitis. Waylon Jennings was no stranger to hard living, but in 1972, the 35-year-old country outlaw came dangerously close to losing his life in a completely unexpected way. While on tour near the Colorado border, Jennings stopped at a local diner for a quick snack, pie and milk. What seemed like a harmless indulgence turned into a serious health crisis. In his memoir, Waylon, an autobiography, he recalled that he had been warned before heading out to the area not to eat locally made foods due to a hepatitis outbreak, a viral disease that attacks the liver with devastating intensity. Hours after his snack, Jennings felt sick and battered, but true to his relentless work ethic, he pressed on to his next performance. By the time he finished the gig, he was uncharacteristically drained, suffering from severe back and kidney pain. His wife, Jessie Coulter, immediately noticed the telltale yellow tint in his skin, a classic sign of hepatitis. But Waylon brushed it off, joking that it was just the reflection of his gold-colored stage shirt. It wasn't long before his body forced him to confront the truth. Jennings passed out and woke to the shocking news from a doctor. He had hepatitis. True to his stubborn nature, he initially resisted treatment, unwilling to let the illness interfere with his life on the road. However, as his condition worsened, the severity of his situation became undeniable. Eventually, Jennings agreed to seek professional medical care, heeding Coulter's insistence that hospitalization was necessary. This near-death experience was a wake-up call for Jennings, highlighting just how precarious life could be even for a man seemingly invincible on stage. He had a major cocaine addiction. In the 1970s and 1980s, Waylon Jennings was in the grip of a powerful cocaine addiction that threatened both his career and his life. According to People, the singer's dependence on the drug had become all-consuming, yet even legal troubles couldn't shake him. In August 1977, police raided a Nashville recording studio and discovered so much cocaine on Jennings that he was charged with intent to distribute. Astonishingly, the scandal didn't immediately derail his work, and he continued performing and recording as though nothing had changed. But the effects of his addiction eventually caught up with him. In 1984, during a show in Portland, Oregon, Jennings could barely make it through a few songs. He mumbled his way through the set and stumbled off the stage to a chorus of boos from the frustrated audience, a stark contrast to the commanding presence he was known for. Around the same period, his physical health began to deteriorate. He had stopped eating properly, prompting his wife, Jessie Coulter, to force him to consume protein-fortified milkshakes just to maintain some semblance of strength. Jennings felt trapped in a spiral of depression and desperation, yet he couldn't find the willpower to quit on his own. It wasn't until fellow country legend Johnny Cash intervened that Jennings glimpsed a path to recovery. Cash recommended the Betty Ford Center, which had helped him overcome his struggles with painkillers. Inspired but wary, Jennings opted for a different approach. Having previously failed to quit through formal rehabilitation, he decided to go completely cold turkey, isolating himself and his family in Arizona. As Coulter later told Garden and Gunn, the first step was decisive. Jennings flushed $20,000 worth of cocaine down the toilet, swearing he would never touch the drug again. Waylon Jennings filed for bankruptcy. As one of the most influential singer-songwriters and performers in country music, Waylon Jennings earned substantial wealth throughout his career, drawing fans to concerts and chart-topping albums alike. Yet despite his success, Jennings's finances were notoriously unstable. According to his memoir, Waylon, an autobiography, he went broke at least 3 times, watching his hard-earned money vanish faster than it came in. Part of the problem, Jennings explained, was the sheer scale of his operations. He maintained an enormous support network, including a road manager, a band manager, a publicist, a secretary, a booking agent, a receptionist, gophers, and multiple personal assistants. On tour, the entourage expanded even further. He employed several crews, production managers, and dozens of roadies, all supported by a convoy of trucks and buses to transport instruments, equipment, and personnel. The overhead alone consumed a massive portion of his income, leaving little for personal savings. By 1981, the situation became dire. Jennings filed for bankruptcy, citing $2.5 million in debt. Homes and real estate holdings were seized, bank accounts closed, and advances spent long before album releases. His struggles were compounded by his cocaine habit, which at its peak cost him around $1,500 a day. While the drug fueled his creativity and stage presence for a time, it also drained his resources and added another layer of financial stress. Despite these setbacks, Jennings remained committed to his music, insisting on delivering top-tier performances and maintaining control over his shows. But his autobiography reveals a sobering truth. Even legendary talent and a devoted fan base could not shield him from the harsh realities of overspending and addiction. He had heart problems. Even after kicking his cocaine habit in 1984, Waylon Jennings couldn't escape the long-term consequences of years of hard living. Cocaine had taken a toll on his heart, but so had decades of smoking and a grueling lifestyle on the road. By October 1988, at age 51, Jennings's health caught up with him. Doctors performed a balloon angioplasty to clear a blocked artery, a warning sign that his heart was under serious strain. Just 2 months later, while traveling on his tour bus en route to a show in Tennessee, Jennings began experiencing excruciating chest pains. His driver quickly diverted to Baptist Hospital in Nashville. Medical tests revealed partial blockages in 3 of his arteries, requiring immediate triple bypass surgery. Though the situation was dire, Jennings avoided a full-blown heart attack and, under skilled care, made a complete recovery. The sudden scare forced Jennings to confront lifestyle choices that had long endangered his health. "I had to change the way I eat," he admitted to UPI, acknowledging that decades of heavy smoking, he'd started around age 10 and was smoking 5 to 6 packs a day in his later years, had contributed heavily to the problem. He was ordered to rest, cancel 2 months of concerts, and adopt healthier habits almost overnight. This period marked a turning point in Jennings's life. The man who had once defied convention and lived on the edge now had to listen to strict medical advice. Yet, even as he adhered to new routines, he never lost his characteristic determination. Waylon Jennings suffered from complications of diabetes. During the height of his cocaine addiction, Waylon Jennings barely ate, relying on milkshakes force-fed to him by his wife, Jessie Coulter, just to maintain enough energy for his grueling tour schedule. The drug had suppressed his appetite entirely, leaving him gaunt and drained. But once Jennings quit cocaine in the mid-1980s, his body's hunger returned, and he began steadily gaining weight. "I hated the way I looked, because once I started gaining weight, I couldn't stop," he admitted in Waylon, an autobiography. Yet the extra pounds were only the beginning of a new health battle. Less than a decade into his drug-free life, Jennings was diagnosed with adult-onset type 2 diabetes, a condition that often develops in older, overweight adults. The disease impairs the body's ability to process food and regulate blood glucose, opening the door to serious complications. For Jennings, those complications became painfully real. Blood flow in his legs grew increasingly restricted, and he was diagnosed with peripheral vascular disease in both limbs. In April 2000, he underwent surgery in an attempt to relieve the excruciating pain and improve circulation. But diabetes is relentless, and Jennings's body continued to deteriorate. In 2001, he developed an infection in his foot. With his already weakened system unable to fight it, doctors were forced to amputate. Tragically, these health issues foreshadowed the end of the country legend's life. Despite years of overcoming addiction and rebuilding his career, Jennings's body could no longer withstand the complications caused by diabetes. Just 2 months after the amputation, Waylon Jennings passed away at age 62, leaving behind a legacy of outlaw country music, resilience, and hard-earned lessons about the consequences of a life lived on the edge. From his near brush with death on the plane that took Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, to his battles with addiction, health struggles, and turbulent love life, Jennings lived unapologetically, always staying true to himself, even when it came at a steep cost. What do you think was the most defining moment in Waylon Jennings's life? The plane tragedy, his fight with addiction, or his honest confessions in later years? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on the life of this country music legend. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the real lives behind music icons, their triumphs, tragedies, and the lessons they leave behind.